Hey, how's it going, everyone? Daredevil Born Again. This is touted as possibly one of the best stories ever written by Marvel Comics, and I see where they're coming from. This is very good. I dare say it's the best book that we've had, that I've looked at so far in this collection. It's the darkest, definitely, especially on the first page where we have Karen Page. The first page we have Karen Page. We have Karen Page, and she's trying to get some heroin. She's trying to get drugs off of this guy. And she's like, you don't have any, and he's like, you don't have any money, what do you have so I can give you these drugs? And she gives him a name. She tells him that Daredevil is Matthew Murdoch, and this news goes to Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, who then we see Matthew Murdoch. He's getting bills being sent to his house. He's been laid off his job. His girlfriend has just broken up with him, and his girlfriend goes to see. And also, Matthew Murdoch is now like a suspect in. He's got to go to court for perjury, or not perjury, fucking something for getting false information off of somebody, essentially. He's being framed for getting false information with the hope that he will end up in prison. We then see that Matt Murdock's girlfriend at the time, Glory something or other, her house has been robbed, and Foggy Nelson shows up and he's like, come live with me. And she ends up getting handsy with him. They form a relationship, and this cop that's feeding information, trying to frame Matt Murdock, Daredevil ends up going to his house, trying to beat some information out of him. Meanwhile, Matt Murdock is he's getting more like worried about who's like after him, who's trying to like take his whole world down. And he thinks it's Foggy Nelson. He thinks it's all these people that are like working together, until his house gets blown up. Like literally his house gets blown up, and that's where he's like, this is Wilson Fisk. None of this screamed gangster until now. So, Matt Murdock is now homeless. He's now homeless, and Wilson Fisk's like, yeah, we got him on the run. That's when Matt Murdock goes through New York City to confront Wilson Fisk. And meanwhile, all this is happening, Karen Page is running through Mexico. She's trying to get to Matt to warn him. Matt Murdock goes to confront Wilson Fisk, and Wilson Fisk is like in this sumo wrestler gear, and he proceeds to wail on Matt Murdock relentlessly until Matt Murdock is near death, throws him into a car, douses his body in whiskey, and throws him off a pier, hoping that he dies, but there's no corpse. And we see Matthew Murdoch in, like, some alley somewhere. So Matthew Murdoch's been unconscious for quite a while. He's in this alley sleeping, and it's Christmas, and there's this gangster called Turk who's just happens to walk by. Matt Murdoch just happens to walk by him. Turk's got a knife, ends up stabbing Matt Murdoch, and Matt Murdoch goes to Fogwell's gym. He punches the bag once, collapses, wakes up, and he's in the arms of a nun. He wakes up in this monastery, and he's lucky to be alive. And he asks one of the nuns, "Are you my mum?" Because he believed that his mother had died when he was born. And he asks one of the nuns, "Are you my mum?" She says no, and her heart jumps. So she's lying. Wilson Fisk then gets a psychopath from the nearest ward, from the nearest psych ward or mental institute, brings him out, and he's like, "You're gonna dress up as the Daredevil. You're gonna go to this place and you're gonna kill Foggy Nelson." So he goes. Matt Murdoch shows up, and they fight. Matt somehow manages to win. But Karen Page shows up there, and Matt just holds her in his arms. Wilson Fisk then gets in this guy from overseas called Nuke, and when he comes to New York, he literally just tears down the whole city. He starts shooting everyone. He starts shooting random buildings. He turns the whole of New York into a entire war zone. So Daredevil has to fight Nuke, and they fight, and it's a long fight. It's a knockdown, drag-out fight up until Captain America shows up, Thor shows up, and Daredevil shows up. And Cap looks at this guy, and he's got the American flag painted on his face. So the next day, Cap goes to see Matt Murdoch, and he's like, "Who is this guy? I need to know everything about him." Cap's like, and Matt's like, "Why?" It's like, he wore the flag. He wore the damn flag. And Cap goes around asking everyone about who this guy is, and he finds out that it's a agent from from a war, who was tested on with a version of the super soldier serum, but it went wrong. So we then see that Nuke escapes this facility where he's being kept, and he starts killing a load of people. Cap shows up and throws him out of a building. And Nuke's about to die. He's literally on his like deathbed, Daredevil shows up, stuffs him into a taxi, and drives him straight to the Daily Bugle to deliver his dead body to the Daily Bugle. He's like, "There's your evidence. There's your evidence that Wilson Fisk is a guilty man." And the next day, Wilson Fisk's name is in the papers, and he's beaten. And that's the end of the story. So yeah, this is a really good storyline. Not much that I can really critique it on. Really, only the artwork in some pages is a bit weird. And I know Wilson Fisk is supposed to be fat, but in some places he's really... But in this it's like really overdone. And he's shirtless in every scene as well. So you got this fat guy who's shirtless in every scene that he's in. He looks like a bloody sumo wrestler. And he literally is a sumo wrestler throughout this entire, like, arc. And it's weird, because sometimes he's drawn as being, like, just a bit fat, just having, like, a beer belly, to being, like, huge. And that's kind of off-putting. Some of the faces look a bit weird. And it's not just when they're far away, it's also when they're, like, when they're there, when they're in the forefront as well, the faces look really kind of odd. But I guess that's just artwork at this time, really. That's just how art was at this time. As I said, the book is very, very dark, very grim. Like, from the opening page, like, Karen Page's whole, like, story and her character arc is a very dark one. She gets involved in like, porn, she gets involved in drugs, in prostitution, and she has to work her way up and be born again, just like Daredevil needs to. Only that it's all her fault. Everything that happens in this book is pretty much her fault, and it's just because she needed a bit of heroin. She needed to be high, and she's caused this entire, like, domino effect to destroy Matt Murdoch's life. But yeah, it's a really good story, and it's really good to detail the downfall of a superhero, and to have those kind of, like, character analysis, like, books where they don't really delve into his, like, they do delve into his Catholicism here, and it's very, like, religious in tone, and almost signifies Daredevil as, like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, I feel like Frank Miller struck gold in this book, but what a lot of, like, writers try to do after this is they try to recreate this. They try to capture lightning in a bottle again, and I don't feel like it works quite as much in, like, the later times, where, like, every writer on Daredevil has had a point where they have tried to tear down Daredevil. Every writer has done that. Every writer has had that point where they've tried to tear down Matt Murdoch's life. I feel like Frank Miller has done it best, and there are two storylines where Daredevil, like, gets his life, like, ripped apart by two different people, and I feel like those they're both, like, in this collection. Born Again is one of them. The other one's Guardian Devil. And I feel like that book kind of is better than Born Again. But this book is still a masterpiece. Just because it is, really. You kind of have to read it to understand why it's so damn good, because it is a lot of it in the like inner monologues, and I can't really get that through in like a video just talking about what's in the book. Like, I can sit here and say Matt Murdoch's life gets destroyed, but I can't really tell you or explain how it's written so well in the book. So essentially what I'm saying is, go out and buy Daredevil Born Again. I don't care if you have to rob, steal, you know, break into a bank. I don't know. I'm not inciting that you do go into a bank and rob it. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, Daredevil Born Again is really good, really damn good, and you should definitely pick it up if you haven't read it already. Yeah. I'll see you guys in the next video. I give Daredevil Born Again a broken marriage out of 10. No, I give Daredevil Born Again a well-deserved 10 out of 10. This is so good. It helps that it's Daredevil. It's my favourite character, but, you know, Daredevil Born Again. I love this book. It's so good. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you like me for some reason, hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell. Links to all my social media and Patreon and stuff is in the description. See you guys in the next video. Don't know how many times I have to say that, but yeah.